Hello everyone, welcome back to my second channel, my vlog channel here, where I like to just talk, say things, because that's what people need more in the world, right? It's just guys saying things. I come to you today with a bit of this is probably going to be kind of a messy thought piece, but this is just something that I've kind of grappled with in relation to people that I know who have had these problems, a little bit with myself as well. I want to talk to you about anxiety, depression, dread, all these things that are kind of riddling society right now, especially with the younger generation. So for a long time now, I've kind of seen the correlation between this recent bout of anxiety and depression that is just everywhere in millennials and millennial culture these days. And even older people, 30s, 40s, they're dealing with this too. I've seen this correlation between this epidemic of depression and anxiety and technology. This might seem like a really redundant thing to say, to be like, just get off your phone, you'll be happier. But I've really seen this, and I've felt it myself. The advent of technology in the ways of the internet, modern hardware, is unprecedented in human society. Consider the changes that have occurred from 1920 to now, 2020. 100 years, we barely had phones, but now we have cell phones. The internet wasn't a thing. We didn't even really have planes to any big degree, so international travel just did not happen. But now, you can buy a plane ticket, go anywhere. You can access any information you desire from your pocket any time of the day. And this is unprecedented in human history. This has not been a thing in the history of the universe until now, until the last 100 years, if that. And people don't think about this. People don't dwell on this and realize maybe it's messing with our psychology and our biology even to have this thing in our pocket that is altering our lives in ways we're not even realizing. I had made a video on my main channel. You can probably go back and watch. It's called Thoughts on Facebook. And it was just my kind of ruminations about like trying to distance myself from social media and just kind of feeling it eat away at me a little bit. And just the bizarre nature of what social media can do to the human condition. And I highly recommend you go back and watch that. I'll link it in the description. It's not a great video. It's kind of messy and sprawling and rambly, but it got down a lot of what I was thinking at the time. So getting back on topic here, I think technology is a big issue when it comes to younger people because it's something you can just dive into and resort back to, and it's a comfortable place. But it just ruins your social interactions with people, and it increases loneliness. So that's one aspect of anxiety and depression that I kind of noticed with people is they tend to not like to be around other people, and they'll resort to watching TV shows, movies, YouTube, whatever it is. They'll just go whatever it's called in Japanese, a kikomori, where you just kind of are a hermit. And I know people like this. And it seems like very obvious antidotes to this social anxiety and this depression that people are feeling is to get out in the world more, talk to people more, interact with people more, get out in the sunlight for vitamin D, get exercise, and fix your diet. Like, those can drastically change your world. But if people aren't willing to do the work, they won't do it. They'll just stay depressed. And if they feel a little bit of resistance towards trying these things, they'll think that they shouldn't continue to try them. And I'll even tell people, it's like, try to get out in the sun as much as you can. Do 10 push-ups at the end of every day. And fix your diet. Don't eat fast food. Drink 3 times as much water as you normally do for a month. See what happens. But of course, they don't try to do it. They say they tried and it didn't work, or they just gave up too quickly. But that's more of a character flaw than an element of the depression and anxiety. All this to say, I want to bring something up. This is a book by J.P. Moreland, an amazing philosopher, theologian, thinker, done a lot of great work. He's a Christian apologist, and has done a lot of work on the soul, the philosophy of the soul and the mind. But he's also done a lot of work on anxiety and depression as well. He's very much a feeler, but he's also an amazing thinker who thinks through things very logistically and pragmatically. Now, I know that not all of my viewers are going to be Christian people, but I think that there's a lot to take out of J.P. Moreland's work, even if you're not necessarily a Christian, that is very helpful. The main thesis of this book is that anxiety and sometimes depression from that is actually a habit. This is kind of a revolutionary way to think of things. For some preface here, my wife has struggled with anxiety, depression, panic attacks even, for the better part of 5 to 10 years now. We've been married for about 5 years, and even while I was dating her, she had some issues. She had panic attacks before she went to work because of the social anxiety, and she just felt immensely guilty because of it, because there's an obvious disconnect between the mental knowing I should feel fine, it's okay for me to go to work, and the physical reality of I am panicking because of this. I'm having a reaction that is irrational. And it was just tearing her up, and she didn't know what to do, what was happening. Long story short, I ended up going full-time at my job so she could quit her work to become just a housewife and then eventually a mom, which, by the way, one of the best things that's ever happened to us. I'm immensely thankful and grateful that things went that way, because I would not ever have her go to work again if I can help it. Not only for her sake, just because I don't think she works well in that work environment, but to have this classical nuclear family element of I go to work and, supply the money for the family, and she's the heart of the home, divide and conquer. There's no overlap, no conflict of interest. It's magnificent, and I highly recommend it to anyone as like a goal to achieve. But anyway, I've been watching J.P. Moreland's speeches and debates and talks and stuff like that for several years now, since I got into apologetics, and I know he had done this book, but I hadn't really watched any of his talks about his own depression. And then once I did, I was like, I gotta have my wife, Haley is her name, I'll just call her Haley from now on. I've got to have Haley see this. So I showed it to her, and at the end of it, we're like, I feel like we should probably buy his book. So we did. She's been reading it, and it's been transformative. And I just want to kind of share the main thesis of it here in a way to help you guys. And I'm not going to be like, sharing stuff from the book that, would negate you buying the book, because I encourage you to buy the book. But it's stuff that's from his own speeches as well that I just kind of want to highlight here. So one of the main things, like I said, is anxiety is a habit. It's a learned habit. And it can be unlearned through repetition, exercise, and retracing those brain pathways into new habits. One of the first things is this negative self-talk, which, after talking with my wife and then seeing it in other people, I realized that this negative self-talk of, when something goes wrong, you think like, oh, I'm a failure. It's not like a lack of self-image or a lack of confidence or a lack of belief in yourself. You believe this to be a true thing. And I've seen this with people I know who are anxious. It's not that you think they have a very low self-image or, a very low opinion of themselves. But when you try to encourage them, it's not like they're like, oh, thank you, whatever. They just legitimately think you're telling a falsehood. They're like, no, you're wrong. I'm garbage. I'm not worth very much. You have it wrong, but thank you anyway. And I talked to my wife about that, and she's like, yeah, that's how it feels. And so it's like you've been deceived into thinking this falsehood. So one of the first elements of this exercise is to label this self-talk as a brain habit and a brain message. So when, something goes wrong and you don't get the promotion or whatever, and you're just like, oh, I'm garbage. I can't believe that I failed that. You stop and you think like, wait a second. No, there's part of me that knows that that's not true. And I need to relabel this. It's like, this is just a brain message. This is a habit. I will file this away. And then you do what's called getting into flow, which is you just basically distract yourself by doing something else that makes the time melt away. So it's like, when you have that feeling, it's like, no, you are a brain message. You are not true. I will file you away. And it doesn't matter if you believe that or not. You just say it. Even if you think what you're saying is false, you're like, brain message, you are not true. And then you go into flow. It's like reading a book, playing a video game, something to distract you and make the time melt away. And then you go back and you revisit this message and analyze it. And it's like, was that actually false? And you're like, yeah, I think it was. Anyway, that's just kind of a taste, a teaser of this kind of mentality of realizing that this low self-image, this anxiety and this depression, it's part of a habit, it's habitual, it's a lifestyle. And you have to work at changing it because you have been deceived and you've fallen into a rut and you don't fully realize how not easy, but not difficult it is to get yourself out. It might take time. It can take months to work out of these habits, but it's possible. You can do it and you can be incredibly joyful and just completely 1080. It might not be something that has to be fixed by antidepressants or something. And I'm not anti-antidepressants. I just think people think that they're the cure-all pill. And if you take them, you will be good. No, they move you towards being able to fix things for yourself. Because sometimes you need that edge that an antidepressant can give you. But don't squander that edge and not work further. Anyway, that's all. Just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about anxiety and depression. It might pop up here and there again on this channel for a variety of reasons, but I just wanted to share this with you guys because I think it's immensely valuable. Not only has JP Moreland done a lot of good things, but I recommend looking up a guy named Johan Hari. He's been on Joe Rogan. He's done a TED Talk about how a lot of anxiety and depression can just be unmet needs. And it's not like a pill or exercising or a better diet can help you, because sometimes those are okay and you're still depressed. And it's really just that you have unmet needs, like, fulfillment in life or just something very psychological like that. And that's a different way to frame it as well. Anyway, that's all. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you around.